Hello everyone, and welcome to a quick tip video on autoboxing and unboxing. This is related to the concept of wrapper classes because when you're programming and you're working with some primitive data types and their corresponding wrapper classes, sometimes you might forget to differentiate between the two, and Java makes it pretty easy on us by basically automatically converting between them when it makes sense to do so. So the technical definition of autoboxing is when Java's given an int value or a primitive value and it was expecting an integer, it will automatically autobox the int into an integer. So here you can see in the example, 10 is actually just a primitive int, but then because we're saving it into an integer z, the class type or the reference type, it's going to autobox this primitive value into that class wrapper so that we can use all the methods that are associated with it. And then unboxing is just the opposite of that. So when Java's given an integer and it expects an int, then it automatically unboxes the integer into a primitive int, right? So here we actually created a new integer with the value 18, called it a. We created a new circle. And then when we call the setRadius method for our circle, it's actually expecting an int to be passed in here, but this will not throw an error because when Java gets an integer, but it was expecting an int, it's just going to unbox that integer and basically grab the value out of there. So these two examples had integers, but keep in mind that this works for doubles as well. So I'm going to show you another quick example here now. So here I want to show you an example using a double, and it's the same concept as with integers, unboxing and autoboxing those values. So let's say I create a double, we'll call it x, and set it equal to 4.2. And then let's say I then create a double class type, and we'll call this one y. Remember, when we're allocating a new class, we have to use the word new and then call the constructor for a double. And we're also going to set that equal to 4.2. All right, so now we have two values, x and y. X, remember, is a primitive, and then y is a class reference type. Class data type. And so, and I'll just print these out for sake of viewing it. Let's say that I wanted to check if these are equal to each other. If I say x equals y, remember, equals is for comparing primitive data types. And normally, if we use a class data type and use equals, we're actually comparing the memory address of that location. And so, technically, this would not be correct if we're comparing 4.2 to the memory address of y. But let's try running this. Compiles okay. We run it and we get true, which is interesting. And basically what happened there, right? This is an example of unboxing because we took y, and because it's equals, it was expecting two primitives. But when we passed in this wrapper double, this wrapper type, it unboxed that and just took the primitive value and compared them. Conversely, if I take and call the equals method from y, right, this wrapper class, this would be autoboxing. Because the equals method for y is expecting a double class type to be passed in. And when it gets this primitive double, it's just going to auto box that, put a box around it, and save it into a double wrapper so that we can compare them. So we compile, and again, we get true, right? So Java is really helping us out here. In both cases, it either unboxes or auto boxes that value for us so that we can work seamlessly with primitive and class types of doubles, ints, and even booleans will do that for us. Now I know what you're thinking. You thought I might be about to drop some bars about Java. It's not going to happen. At least not in this lesson. You'll have to stick around for the rest of the course to see if maybe when you get to the end, I'd be willing to try to freestyle a few rhymes. In this lesson, hopefully you got introduced and start to feel comfortable with using wrapper classes for integers, doubles, and booleans. And the other concept you learned in this lesson that was important is the idea of autoboxing and unboxing, right? Basically, these are the shortcuts that are built into Java, where Java will automatically either treat your primitives like wrapper classes or treat your wrapper classes like primitives when it makes sense to do that in your program.